SH Figuarts Gamerverse Cyclops vs Marvel Legends vs MAFEX, a comparison review to see which one actually belongs in your display. Does the SH Figuarts Cyclops live up to the hype, or is he just a shortcake in a deluxe price tag? With 2025 shaping up to be the year of Marvel vs Capcom Gamerverse figures, did Bandai beat Hasbro or trip over those controversial hip joints? The big question, does this Cyclops actually scale with Marvel Legends and MAFEX, or is he a boy among men on the shelf? And what about that massive Super Optic Blast? Can the neck joint support it, or is this a Christmas morning heartbreak waiting to happen? Let's break down the engineering, scale, and infamous crotch cuts. In hand, is the SH Figuarts Gamerverse Cyclops hip overlay noticeable? Yes, absolutely. Cyclops yellow superhero trunks have always been a talking point, but SH Figuarts went all in with these deep, high-cut hip joints. It almost looks like a high-cut thong sitting on top of the yellow trunks, and the yellow trunks on top of the blue pants. It's a bold design choice. So bold, even Superman would probably say he's wearing his costume wrong. But here's the thing, from an articulation and engineering standpoint, this is actually a win. I don't vanilla pose my figures that much, I push them. I want extreme Marvel vs Capcom style crouches, wide stance, and dynamic action poses. On figures like Marvel Legends Wolfsbane and Feral, pushing the legs this far actually dents the pelvis plastic immediately. With this SH Figuarts Cyclops, no stress marks, no dents, no resistance. The hip overlay gives the ball joint full clearance, which is exactly what you want for a high-end posing. Bandai also used a rigid, high-gloss plastic here, which makes a huge difference. Unlike the SH Figuarts Chainsaw Man, where the softer overlay feels gummy and might tear apart when you kick the legs really high, this Cyclops feels solid and durable. There are no butt flap issues like we've seen on Marvel Legends figures like Psylocke, but that does not make us love Psylocke less. This is the same anatomical, function-first engineering we saw on SH Figuarts movie Carnage, designed for articulation, stability, and shelf presence. He features the same high-cut thong design, but on him it looks more like a skinless person exposing his muscle anatomy. Talk about biology in action figures. Despite the articulation benefits, the SH Figuarts Gamerverse Cyclops hip design is still very polarizing to look at. And that problem is made worse by the biggest issue collectors see, the scale and height. Like most displays, Marvel Legends dominates my shelf, and historically both SH Figuarts and MAFEX tend to run shorter than Hasbro's tall 6-inch scale figures. SH Figuarts is technically true 1/12 scale, but with this Gamerverse Cyclops standing at just 15.4 cm, about 6 inches, Bandai may have made a serious scaling mistake. In the Marvel comics, Scott Summers' Slim is canonically 6 foot 3 inches tall. At a true 1/12 scale, a Cyclops action figure should stand approximately 6.25 inches tall. This is where MAFEX takes the win, as their Cyclops hits that height requirement perfectly. Hasbro's Marvel Legends also comes very close to that mark. The SH Figuarts Gamerverse Cyclops by comparison is noticeably undersized, and for that supposed leader of the X-Men, he ends up looking surprisingly small. Standing beside the 2025 Marvel Legends Gamerverse heroes, the scale issue becomes obvious. He's still taller than Wolverine, but Logan is way too close in height. Psylocke, who should be around 5 foot 11 inches tall, ends up looking nearly the same height as a 6 foot 3 Cyclops. And once you put him next to the Gamerverse villains, it turns into a full David versus Goliath situation. This is where Cyclops really feels like a boy among men. Moving over to X-Men 97 Marvel Legends line, the scale problem continues. Cyclops being shorter than Jean Grey and Storm just doesn't look right. Standing next to other X-Men 97 female figures, the student, Jubilee, is almost the same height as Cyclops, while everyone's favorite teacher, Emma Frost, absolutely towers over him, making Scott look more like the teacher's pet. Interestingly, when you place the SH Figuarts Cyclops next to Jada Toy Street Fighter figures, the lack of height is less noticeable. especially alongside Ryu, who is assumed to be 5 foot 9 inches tall. That pairing actually works surprisingly well for a Marvel vs. Capcom style display. And while this SH Figuarts Cyclops may be the maximum series when it comes to accessories, it is definitely not a maximum series in height. Standing beside Hasbro Marvel Legends, Maximum Series Spider-Man and Deadpool, he does not feel maximum. Even compared to Medicom Toy MAFEX Cyclops, another true 1/12 scale figure, this SH Figuarts Cyclops runs really small. Although at least here he manages to stay a little taller than the MAFEX Jean Grey and Wolverine, unlike when it comes to Marvel Legends versions where Jean completely towers over him.
Definitely, the SH Figuarts Cyclops cannot fit in your 6-inch scale Hasbro Marvel Legends display, especially when it comes to females, because he still looks small besides females. Here is the 6-inch Cyclops besides Executive Replicas and Loose Collector Chaotica and Loose Collector Halima Sculptures Darna. For some 6-inch scale versus 7-inch scale size comparison, Hasbro Marvel Legends Rogue from the Juggernaut Build-A-Figure Wave and the Marvel Select Rogue, celebrating 80 years of Marvel Hulk, and the 7-inch scale Diamond Select Toys Marvel Select Immortal Hulk or the Rampaging Hulk.
So far, we hit two major points of contention with this Cyclops. The question is, will the Optic Blast effects be the third strike? On the Marvel Legends, the red Optic Blast is a simple detachable effect. MAFEX takes it a step further with a detachable visor as well. SH Figuarts has opted for a different route. The visor is permanently attached to the Optic Blast. This is similar to what Mezco did for their Cyclops. On paper, this is great. It should mean you don't have to worry about the blast falling off the head. However, after recreating several Marvel vs. Capcom moves of Cyclops, I found that the visor doesn't sit tight enough against the face. There is a noticeable gap between the visor and the head. Is this a deliberate design decision, or is it genuinely an engineering flaw? Because this isn't a friction-tight fit. There is a constant risk of the visor falling out, especially when you're dealing with the massive weight of the Mega Optic Blast effect. I honestly feel bad that I'm giving you so many reasons to potentially skip this for your collection. But does the rest of the figure make up for these shortcomings? Let's look at the areas where this Cyclops actually shines in the second part of this review. If you found this review helpful, I hope you give it a hype, give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and share this with your friends. For places where the figures in this review might still be available, I left some links in the description below.
I'm Juggernaut!
One of the most unique engineering features of the SH Figuarts Gamerverse Cyclops is the set of interchangeable neck joints. Unlike most action figures where the neck is a fixed part of the torso, Bandai included 3 separate blue molded neck pieces, each sculpted at a different angle to support the specific Optic Blast poses. This is a very SH Figuarts style solution, but does it actually improve posing in practice? First, the standard neck joint. This is your neutral out-of-the-box option designed for basic display or vanilla shelf posing. Second, the forward lean neck joint. This neck angled the head slightly forward, allowing Cyclops to aim his Optic Blast straight ahead without relying on an extreme ab crunch that can break the sculpt or ruin the silhouette. And third, the high angle neck joint. This one is specifically engineered for the iconic Marvel vs. Capcom Beam Throw or Optic Blast High. Those moves require Cyclops to aim upward at an elevated target. So does the interchangeable neck system actually make a noticeable difference? I tested it by recreating the same high-angled Optic Blast pose using both the standard neck and the upward tilt neck joint. And honestly, the visual difference is very subtle. For most display angles, it's barely noticeable, which makes these extra parts feel like a lot of engineering for minimal payoff. That leads to a bigger question for Bandai and SH Figuarts collectors. Was this the right design choice? Instead of a specialized neck joint with a negligible visual impact, would have it been better to include a dedicated display stand, especially to help support the heavy Mega Optic Blast accessory? I'm curious what you think. Are you a fan of these swap out SH Figuarts neck joints? Or would you rather have a sturdy stand to prevent a shelf diving Optic Blast disaster? Since those interchangeable neck joints are mostly aesthetic, the real question becomes, does the SH Figuarts Gamerverse Cyclops actually pass the eye test? More importantly, does this figure truly capture the Cyclops we remember from the classic Marvel vs. Capcom arcade sprites? That's a harder question to answer than it should be. The sculpt clearly leans into an anime-inspired interpretation, which SH Figuarts is known for, but it doesn't fully convey that commanding leader of the X-Men presence. From certain angles, Cyclops looks like a little too youthful, and the way the blue cowl wraps around his cheeks, it feels slightly off compared to game sprite proportions. Paint and color accuracy are another mixed bag. The blue bodysuit features some nice dark shading and washes that brings out the muscle sculpt. But when it comes to game accuracy, the blue on the body reads noticeably lighter than the head sculpt. That's a mismatch surprising for SH Figuarts standards. As for the yellow, it has that slightly orange tone yellow that longtime collectors will recognize from early Marvel Legends releases, especially the Juggernaut with the figure Wave Road. The butterfly joints in the torso are clearly engineered for maximum articulation, but visually they can be distracting. If you leave Cyclops in a neutral or vanilla pose, certain angles expose internal gaps that break the silhouette in toy photography. Where Bandai absolutely deserves credit is in the chest harness and the belt engineering. When you crunch the torso backwards, the harness doesn't pull the belt up away from the yellow trunks. For toy photographers, that's a huge win, because constantly fixing that blue gap between the belt and the waist is one of the most frustrating issues with old Marvel Legends Cyclops and MAFEX figures. Bandai also opted for seamless double-jointed elbows and knees, avoiding the traditional wrist, thigh, and boot cuts commonly used by Hasbro. Instead, SH Figuarts relies on a ball peg system at the wrist and the hips, which handles the swivels surprisingly well. That said, one major missed opportunity here is the lack of peg holes under the feet. Peg holes would have gone a long way towards stabilizing the figure, especially when using the heavy Mega Optic Blast effect that constantly wants to make Cyclops tip forward. Let's talk about the Optic Blast effect parts, because this is where the SH Figuarts Gamerverse Cyclops goes all in. This set includes 3 different Optic Blast effects. And the undisputed star of the show is the Mega Optic Blast effect. This is a solid, translucent red beam with a white energy core and a fully sculpted impact flare at the end. Unlike the flatter, more two-dimensional Optic Blast effects we've seen from Marvel Legends and MAFEX, this SH Figuarts effects has a real depth, thickness, and presence on the shelf. It's a 3D version of Cyclops Optic Blast. Bandai also includes a smaller, flatter Optic Blast beam for standard Cyclops poses and mid-range shots. But again, the Mega Optic Blast is clearly the headline accessory here. You will also get a smoking visor effect piece designed to recreate the aftermath of a massive Optic Blast attack. A quick word of caution for collectors: these thin translucent effect parts are notorious for snapping. I personally have to glue my MAFEX Cyclops smoking visor back together after the figure tipped forward and hit the table. Now let's talk about the most controversial accessory in the box. I'm not even sure if we should count this as an accessory or a traditional effect piece, but Bandai included a cardboard backdrop to represent the Hyper Combo Mega Optic Blast move from Marvel vs. Capcom. From a distance, it actually looks great as a display piece, and from a practical standpoint, it makes sense. If Bandai tried to recreate that entire screen-feeling special move in solid plastic, the weight and the price would have been astronomical. This cardboard backdrop is a clever compromise to keep the cost from spiraling out of control, even if some collectors might feel the cardboard feels a little cheap for a SH Figuarts import figure. To complement the 3 Optic Blast effects, Bandai included 3 distinct head sculpts: a neutral expression, a gritty look, and a full-on screaming head. There is only one hairpiece for the 3 heads. Such a missed opportunity to add an alternate hair where his hair bangs is flying up while firing an optic blast. This is a massive win for SH Figuarts though, because neither Marvel Legends X-Men 97 Cyclops nor MAFEX 99 Cyclops includes a screaming head. The screaming head is essential for those high-intensity combat poses. While I'm glad we got the essential, it's a bit of a letdown that we didn't get a civilian head with the ruby quartz glasses, something MAFEX has. For a head swap between the MAFEX and SH Figuarts, it's a failure. The neck peg looks similar, but the heads won't peg in. Moving on to the hands, SH Figuarts Cyclops comes with a generous total of 10. You get a pair of open palm expressive hands and 2 closed fist hands, which both Hasbro and Medicom Toy has. However, Bandai gave us a pair of visor pressing hands with that signature gun-like gesture. This is a step up from the single hand included with Marvel Legends, and MAFEX offers also a pair but different visor pressing gesture. Bandai SH Figuarts is missing a thumbs up gesture, which he does whenever he switches up with another character. But the real Gamerverse flavor comes from the unique hands. First, we have a pair of chopping hands, absolutely perfect for his horizontal chops and iconic power stance when he's about to fire up a massive blast. Finally, they included a pair of grabbing hands specifically designed for those close quarter moves where Scott grabs his opponent by the chest for his throw move or beam throw move. He grabs on the same spot for both males and females. Before he grabs Psylocke, Jean comes for an assist clap to prevent further damage. It's these small character-specific details that make SH Figuarts feel like it was built by the fans of the Marvel vs. Capcom game. Did the unique hands, such as the chopping hands and the throw hand gesture, redeem SH Figuarts? Let me know in the comments below. The packaging is impressive to look at. SH Figuarts gives Cyclops a compact blue box with a window. You can see the figure and most of the accessories except for most of the alternate hands. Logos of Bandai Namco, SH Figuarts, Gamerverse, and Cyclops. On the side is stylized product shot of Cyclops, an explanation of what SH Figuarts is. On the other side is the same explanation. At the back, a few promo shots of the figure. On top, the window continue, Gamerverse logo. Bottom is the iconic stance of Cyclops using the chopping hands. Unboxing the Bandai Namco SH Figuarts Gamerverse Cyclops, there is only one plastic tray. Behind the tray is the Mega Optic Blast cardboard along with the instructions in Japanese. Here is the translated text instructions. Pause it right now if you want to have the read. The Mega Optic Blast is 2 pieces of cardboard. For articulation, Cyclops' head can move from side to side, can look up and look down with great range, can tilt from side to side with his neck swivel, arm can extend that far, his arms can drop down because of how the butterfly joints are designed, do a full 360 here, a bicep swivel, double jointed pinless elbows, wrists can swivel and hand can move in any direction because of the ball peg system, upper torso swivel. I do not recommend doing a full 360 because it is tight. When you force, it can cause scratches. Can crunch forward and back. He has a great range of movements for the legs because of the crotch design. Notice how the upper thigh slides in a movable crotch piece. Can do a split, swivel by a joint on the upper thigh, kick forward, double jointed knees allow him to kick backward that far, ankle rocker, and a hinge toe articulation. Did SH Figuarts make the definitive Gamerverse Cyclops? It's still too early to crown a winner, but based on this review, this feels like a battle for Hasbro to lose. The Marvel Legends X-Men 97 Cyclops buck is already good enough to compete with SH Figuarts. If only Hasbro added more Optic Blast accessories and iconic game hands, they can truly blow out the competition. Right now, Hasbro still dominates the Gamerverse battles, and I made a full playlist right here. I hope you check it out. Thank you for watching. Please hype, like, share, and subscribe. Happy holidays! I edited this review while I'm on holiday in Melbourne for Christmas, so it's a bit noisy with kids on the background. Best wishes for the season, and I hope to see you in the next one.